Welcome to Sociology AQA AS level education with methods in context. The key is that anything in red is a theorist's name or anything important and is worth remembering, and anything in blue is a key concept term, which means that it will be a 2-marker that could be on your exam, so you must know the definition of it. Topic 1. Class differences in achievement, part 1, which is external factors. The middle class are non-manual professionals who do jobs such as doctors or teachers. The working class do manual jobs which require skilled workers such as plumbers and cleaners. Internal factors are things within the school and the education system, such as inequalities in school and interactions between teachers and pupils. External factors are factors outside of school, such as the influence of your home background and family background. Cultural deprivation is lacking the cultural equipment needed to do well in school, and so the students underachieve. For example, cultural factors such as language, leisure, and attitudes towards education vary between social classes and the level of education of parents. It's most likely that working class parents are unable to socialise their children adequately for school. Hubster et al. Says, where parents use language that challenges their children to evaluate their own understanding, their intellectual performance improves, and educated parents are more likely to use language in this way. Less educated parents tend to use the language in ways that only require children to make simple statements which lower their development. So, Beretta and Engelman say that the parents' use of language is linked to their social class. For example, the lower class communicate through gestures, short disjointed phrases. Basil Bernstein, distinguishes 2 types of speech code. This restricted code, which is used by the working class, and the elaborated code, which is used by the middle class. So parents' education is a major factor for cultural deprivation, as poorly educated parents may be less aware of how to stimulate children's minds through educational play. And he found that middle class have less value, motivation, and ambition on education, whereas middle class do. They have more value, and they put more attention on their child's education, which puts them at an advantage by how their parents socialise them. An educated parent's style would be discipline and high expectations of children. This will help the child to have more self-independence and self-control, leading them to having more motivation and interaction with teachers at school independently. The use of income is to promote educational success, and Bernstein found that middle class are more likely to buy educational toys such as leapfrog laptops or books. Oh my god, I loved my childhood when I used those laptops, and they helped encourage intellectual development. Working class will lack these resources because maybe of material deprivation. Parents' educational behaviour would be such as reading to children and being involved in their school homework and recognising the value of education activities such as going to museums and going to theatre trips. So the middle class are better paid and the working class are lower paid. Feinstein, he notes that parental education has an influence on a children's achievement in its own right despite class or income. Not all working class children do bad, likewise with middle class. So the working class subculture are attitudes and values that differ from the mainstream culture, which could be why their child fails at school because they are culturally different. Sugarman says that working class have 4 features that act as a barrier to educational achievement. Fatalism, the belief in fate, such as whatever will be, and nothing will be able to change their status. Collectivism, valuing being part of a group rather than succeeding as an individual, which contrasts with middle class, who view that an individual shouldn't be held back by a group. They shouldn't need to be loyal. Immediate gratification, seeking pleasure now rather than making sacrifices in order to get rewards in the future. Middle class do the opposite by going to university to receive a reward that is better and higher than what they're doing in the present. Present time orientation, present is more important than the future, and they have no long-term goals, basically. The myth of cultural deprivation is that the working class fail due to the education system that's dominated through middle class values. Nell Keddy argues that a child can't be culturally deprived of its own culture. The working class children are just culturally different. Some reject the view of the working class as not interested in child's education, such as Blackstone and Mortimer, who say that maybe the working class don't attend parents' evening due to long working hours and may lack the knowledge and feel uncomfortable in a middle class atmosphere. Low income can limit educational progress. Overcrowding in home makes home study difficult. Overcrowding in the house can mean less space to study and hard time sleeping. In a poor house there can be lack of heating and bad conditions which can lead you to being ill, which affects your attendance in school. Aids such as private tuition, educational trips, transport to school could be unaffordable. Children in poverty take on jobs such as babysitting, cleaning and paper rounds, and this often creates a negative impact on their schoolwork. So compensatory education is a policy to tackle the problem of underachievement of deprived children and families in deprived areas. This will help them, motivate them to achieve and do well and to improve in education, such as Operation Head Start. So, why are the middle class successful? Well, this could be because of their cultural capital. Cultural capital is the knowledge, attitudes, values, and language and abilities that the middle class transmit to their children. Bourdieu argues that cultural and material wealth are related to achievement and aren't separated. The middle class possess all of this. So having a higher cultural capital will more likely make you develop intellectual interests and understanding what the education system requires. The education system favours the middle class culture. They devalue working class culture because they believe it's rough and inferior. The middle class, the working class get the message that education isn't for them, and middle class are at an advantage due to the motivation that they get. The middle class with a cultural capital have better equipment because they can easily transfer their economical capital into educational capital. They can gain more qualifications with it, such as having private school or tuition. Leach and Campos found that middle-class parents are more likely to be able to afford a house in an affluent area where schools that's supposed to say are highly placed in exam league tables. Basically, the education is trying to say, if you can afford a house which is in an affluent, expensive area, then that means you'll be able to bring your child into a school which has high exam league tables, meaning that your child will be able to get higher grades. A test of Bourdieu's ideas. So Alice Sullivan used questionnaires to conduct a survey in 4 schools about a range of activities, such as reading, TV genres, visiting galleries and theatres. Those who read complex fiction, watch informative TV shows and go on educational trips have greater cultural knowledge and capital, meaning that they will be more successful in education. She concludes that the greater resources and aspirations of middle-class families explain the remainder of the class gap in achievement because children brought up with cheaper popular culture such as television, soap operas, lacked these advantages, so they tended to achieve poorer qualifications, which resulted them into lower paid jobs, making cultural capital unaffordable for their own children. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope you took in the information. The link of this slideshow will be put in the description below. Click here to be directed to topic 2, and also subscribe, comment any questions and like it if you like. Thank you.